River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, ERUF, has a long-standing relationship with social justice issues in the community and nationwide, and we had been doing some work with supporting immigrants through many ways, but the most recent that I had been involved in was supporting Latinx populations with ICE raids and helping protect and support them during that process. So when we saw the retreat happening from Afghanistan and began to understand the efforts it was going to take to support these, I think, 75,000 individuals that came into the United States in a very, very fast order, this became an easy yes. One of our long stalwart members, Peggy Schaefer, has been involved with Church World Service for years, and she had been working with other refugee populations, as had other members of our fellowship, but it became an easy yes. We initially took on a family of 2. She was pregnant, realized that our resources, both human and financial, were going to go far further than one family, so we agreed to take a second family, and he had a family of 6 children, and we soon learned that he had a brother, and that his brother and wife and 3 of their 6 children were also here, and we thought, hey, this is a no-brainer. We already have a relationship with this family, and so agreed to take on a 3rd family as well. So yes, became easy. All of these men who had worked for the Alliance had accomplished some status in Afghanistan, some wealth beyond poverty. They had homes, they had cars, they had girls going to school. They had what we would consider more of a middle or upper middle class existence. And they're now living in tiny little spaces, trying to make multiple jobs by the husbands, support the family. But I hear so little complaining about how little they have. What I mostly hear about is how important family is, and tradition and culture. And so still for these 2 families, the number one effort is that they want to put their energy behind is reunifying with these 3 children who are still there. Yeah. I think none of us could really understand initially the full scope of this challenge. And when you bring together a group of volunteers, and I've done a lot of volunteer management in my lifetime and in my career, everyone has sort of a different sense of what they want to come in to do, and then you arrive, and then you realize, well, we actually have 15 volunteers that want to do that. What we need to do is tool up to learn how to do the things that really need to be done. So I would say the vast majority of people wanted to help them furnish their places, wanted to do ESL, English as a Second Language, tutoring for the children and for the women in particular, because the men had some facility with English. But quickly we realized that, no, we need to help them learn how to navigate the healthcare system. We need to teach them how to budget money. We need to help them figure out how to be good neighbors, how to navigate a legal system, how to find jobs. And CWS had some great resources, but we took on the very first lot of families, if you will, and CWS was overwhelmed. And so a lot of what we needed to do is also figure out how to be good stewards of CWS's time. And I think now, considering a sponsorship, I would say that probably isn't going to be a concern, because CWS has really taken a deep breath and starting fresh. But that was an early challenge for us. But I guess I would say to anybody interested, a group, and I think a group is definitely the way to go, is to come into it open-minded and willing to take on tasks you may not be particularly skilled at, but that you're willing to learn. Because what these people need is so beyond anything any of us have ever experienced. And Church World Service will certainly be a great partner in supporting you in those efforts. Congregations and organizations are specifically well-heeled to bring groups of like-minded individuals who have some connection to one another, which is the first, I think, task at forming an effective group, is to make sure you have some common ground. But again, if not us, who? I just can't tell you how many individuals want to do something but are not empowered because they're working in isolation. I think that the values that congregations bring, no matter what the doctrine, is one of supporting our neighbors and even those that live too far away to even call them neighbors. One of the things that Anne-Louise in the training program really did emphasize with us is boundaries. You know, what is our role and what is not our role? And I can tell you, when you're working with human beings in such need, that it's really hard to keep that line. And so I felt like that was one of my predominant roles, was to remind us that, yes, they may miss that health appointment if we don't handhold them to that health appointment, but that we're not going to be here forever. And we hope they're going to be here for long, prosperous lives to navigate a life here. But really, really important to remember, they're not our children, they're not our relatives, they're people we're trying to empower. And as much as we may have the most efficient ideas of how they could navigate getting what they need, really we're about educating them and guiding them to learning those steps for themselves, even if they're awkward, even if it doesn't go as smoothly as we'd hoped. That's exactly how we all learn. I think that piece of the training was one that you can't emphasize enough. And I think the final layer, for me anyway, was just that there was no way to measure the soulful connection that we were going to make with these human beings. And they are truly spectacular human beings. What they've experienced and seen has become a real beacon for me in terms of how I live my own life and how I put things in perspective.